After a 3-week break, the Motul FIM Superbike World Championship heads into the second half of our 2025 campaign with the Prosecco DOC UK round. The birthplace of the series some 37 years ago, Leicestershire venue Donington Park in the flight path of East Midlands Airport on the rural outskirts of Derby. One of only 2 surviving venues from the inaugural 1988 World SBK season. This afternoon, Donington Park stages its 68th race in the series. Only 3 circuits have hosted more. No shortage of overtaking here, even though the undulating park layout in the first 2 sectors is largely one line. It's all about building speed to exit the Craner curves wide and make a jab down the inside into the old hairpin. Andrea Locatelli was the man to watch there last year. Modifications to the circuit in the mid-1980s present the heavy braking zones that facilitate passing in the second half of the lap. 190 metres on the brakes for the Fogarty S's. Alvaro Bautista's main area of attack on his climb from 11th to 3rd in race 1 last year. And the Melbourne hairpin, the slowest turn on the calendar at just 45 kilometres per hour, where Toprak Razgatlioglu made his winning move in the Superpole race 12 months ago. He then went on to claim a new lap record in race 2, the shortest of the season at 1 minute 25.597. So like Cremona, it's a 23-lap race ahead of us. You join us at the halfway mark of what's been a seesaw 2025 season scrap between Toprak Razgatlioglu and Nicolo Bulliger. There have been 3 big swings of that pendulum at Phillip Island in February, when 2 non-scores for reigning champion Toprak cost him 37 points in one day. He arrived in Europe with 42 points in total to recover. On Sunday in Assen, 7 weeks later, Bulliger suffered 2 mechanical failures, gifting Razgatlioglu the chance to bank 20 points against an open goal. And finally, the Superpole race in Misano 4 weeks ago, when a first-turn misjudgment from Axel Bassani took Bulliger out of the running. Toprak taking maximum benefit, 12 points, the most he's pulled back against Bulliger in any race this season. Alex Raby and Steve English for race 1 of the Prosecco DOC UK round. And Steve, what was a 34-point gap just 2 rounds ago is now just 9 points between the top 2 in the standings.
Yeah, and it could well be even closer after this one. Toprak on pole, Bulliger on second. We're going to see that head-to-head duel between them both. But we've got a few other riders that could be a bit of a wild card in the mix as well.
Nicolo Bulliger's Misano misfortune means Toprak Razgatlioglu outscored him at the Emilia-Romagna round by 62 points to 40. The biggest swing in favour of the reigning champion this season. But Bulliger has still led throughout this season. No change in the top 6 rankings last time out. Danilo Petrucci gained 2 points over Alvaro Bautista in the battle for bronze, and Andrea Locatelli still 15 points behind Bautista as he was leaving Most, so still something of a stalemate there. Sam Lowe's an isolated 6th, Alex Lowe's now up to 7th, ahead of his home round. The 23 points separate 8 riders there further down the order. The gap at the top, though, the smallest it's been since February, and the title race has effectively been reset before the second half of the campaign.
Yeah, it really has, and that's where it becomes exciting to see who's able to just find their speed that little bit earlier in each weekend. Toprak struggled yesterday, but Bulliger had a crash, and they've come in here to race 1, both of them feeling pretty good about themselves, you'd imagine, right now going into this one. But for Razgatlioglu, that pole, a lap record here in the past, he'll feel that this is his chance to be able to potentially even take the lead in the championship.
Nicolo Bulliger is still the series leader for now, but he must feel at this stage he should be probably more than 50 points ahead of Toprak. 2 mechanical failures in Assen. It was a weekend when he was dominating, and that's starting to look pretty costly at this stage. Bad luck for him again in Misano with that first turn crash. And the only reason he doesn't now trail is the 10 points he gained over Toprak in the run to the line in race 2 of the Czech round. So many big moments already in this title race. At the halfway mark this season, Toprak Razgatlioglu is on half his win tally from last year, more than half of his points total from that stage in 2024. And yet Nicolo Bulliger is still ahead. Bulliger, formidable opposition. But Toprak has still found a way to go with him. Even with that downgraded chassis compared to last year, it's given us a remarkably even fight.
Yeah, and that's really interesting when you look at it that way, that the win tally's been the same, but the points are down. And you think about how dominant Toprak was last year, and that shows just how good of a job he's doing this year. There's a reason he's going to MotoGP next year. There's a reason why so many people rate him so highly. It's because he can make the magic things happen, and he's done that again this year.
Danilo Petrucci 7 points ahead of Alvaro Bautista in the contest for third in the championship. Trails Bautista with 6 podiums to the former champion's 10, but Petrucci has finished every race, scoring in all but one, while Bautista has suffered 4 non-scores, and the latest, race 2 in Most, has put Petrucci in front. Riders making their way out onto the circuit then, 23 laps ahead of us. This is Alex Lowes, who will complete the front row of the grid, and we'll go through the full lineup in a couple of moments' time. Donington Park lap record holder Toprak Razgatlioglu went within 0.2 of a second of his 2024 pole lap to top the timesheets in Superpole for the 3rd time this season. His 21st career pole to equal the legendary Carl Fogarty. Only a 4th defeat this season for Nicolo Bulliger, who still hasn't qualified outside of the top 2 in 2025. A first front row start since the move to Motor Machinery for Alex Lowes, who hasn't qualified outside of the top 5 in the last 3 rounds. P4 on the grid for Jonathan Ray, beating his previous best this season of just P14. Career best P7 for Ryan Vickers, ahead of Petrucci P9, Bautista P10 and Giannone P14. Scott Redding and Axel Bassani down on row 6. At the back of the field, big change for MIE Honda this weekend. Taz McKenzie departing mid-season after 2.5 campaigns with the team. Firstly in Supersport that yielded a race win in 2022 and then in Superbike. He's replaced by Tito Rabat, and Zach Wanzaidi is out this weekend because of a clash with the Asia Road Racing Championship. Ivo Lopez standing in for him. But once again, it turned out in Superpole to be a battle between Toprak Razgatlioglu and Nicolo Bulliger, with an honourable mention for Alex Lowes. And that really is the closest anyone has come to getting in amongst those two in Superpole for a while.
Yeah, and great lap from Lowes, and he set up nicely for this race. Home round for him, obviously, but the fact that yesterday he did a full 20-lap run means that he's got a lot of confidence for what the tyres are going to do in the hot conditions. We're over 40 degrees track temperature, and you can see there the perfect conditions here for fans. That makes it a challenge for the riders out there.
Making our way up the grid then, a mention of a few of the riders that I've just talked about further down the order, the likes of Petrucci and Bautista, 3rd and 4th in the championship standings. These are all the riders they've got to try and pass to get onto the podium here today from 9th and 10th.
Yeah, and a lot of riders to come through, and a lot of riders with a lot that they're out there playing for. We saw Jonathan Ray coming through on the grid there from the 2nd row of the grid. Ryan Vickers with his best performance of the season so far this weekend, where he's been fast and consistent in every session. You can see on Toprak's outlap here though, pushing hard.
Yes, let's take a look at your grid in full then. Front row, Razgatlioglu, Bulliger and Alex Lowes. And as you say, Razgatlioglu pushing a little bit there, a little bit more air for the back wheel as he makes his way through Connor.
The reason for that is leaving the pits, he wants to simulate what it's going to be like on lap 1 for him on all those heavy braking zones. So Toprak just willing to make sure that he's got that little bit of experience. We've seen that catch him out in the past. You think to Jerez on the Yamaha a few years ago, but obviously it's all worked out well for him in this case.
Yes, and his spell with Yamaha worked out well enough in the end as well, as has his time with BMW. He'll be departing to MotoGP next season, and his flamboyant style will be a big miss for everyone. I'm even hearing that if you're fortunate enough here at Donington Park, you might get the opportunity to hear him sing on the stage later on. So that'll be something to watch out for. Anyway, back to business. Toprak Razgatlioglu starting on pole. For him, Donington Park, 3rd of 3 circuits in a row where he was unbeaten last year. This year in Most he pulled back 3 points. In Misano he's pulled back 22, and as we've been saying, starts as the favourite to lead, you would say, after the UK round. He's won 9 of the last 12 races here.
Yeah, Toprak's got all that momentum behind him, but we want to see that fight between him and Bulliger. Bulliger, he really wants to be able to lay down a marker here after what happened last time out in Misano.
Niccolo Bulliger still defending what's left of a lead from day 2 of the Australian round. Hat-tricks for him in Phillip Island and Cremona. Razgatlioglu, by contrast, unbeaten in Portimao and Misano. And then at venues like Donington Park and Manicourt still to come, does the weekend become a question of damage limitation? He executed it so well in Most, losing only 3 points. And any time he can beat Toprak at one of his best tracks, Bulliger strengthens his claim for the title.
That's the key for Bulliger. Win one of the races this weekend and you've stemmed some of the momentum that goes Toprak's way.
Completing the front row of the grid here will be Alex Lowe's. Home round, of course, for him and for Sam, who will be starting from the middle of the second row. Hot temperatures, so no great surprise that riders are leaving it a little bit later to embark on their mission to the grid.
Yeah, quite a few riders will leave it right until the last minute, and pit lane closed around about a minute and a half ago, so everyone should be on the grid now, and everyone that's on the grid might well decide to just take the moment to go and find a bit of shade away from their bikes.
Yeah, more than 1 or 2 ex-riders saying that they're glad they're not in their full race gear today as well on social media. It's one of those where you want to be in the shade as much as possible, and the umbrellas are out, and all of the cooling technology that you can find as well.
Yeah, we were speaking to one ex-rider, we won't name them, but we were asking them about tyres for today, and they said, oh, the ones on my scooter are fine.
Completing the front row is Alex Lowe's, up to 7th in the standings. His best score yet for Bermota was a 24-point haul in Misano, a 2nd place in the Superpole race there. 6th in Assen, 4th in Most, so heading in the right direction. And the visit to Donington Park, you've got to say, falls at the perfect time for him. 6 podiums here, as many as he's managed at any other venue.
Relaxed on the grid there as well for Lowe's, and he certainly will think that there's a chance to be able to be a little bit of a cat amongst the pigeons in this one.
Pirelli Best Lap Award, once again, Toprak Razgatlioglu leading that measure. Superpole Award for him earlier on today as well, and yet another pole position with which he equals the legendary Carl Fogarty. So Razgatlioglu racking up the records as always, and now he'll be hoping to take the win record here at Donington Park.
Yeah, and for Toprak, he'll be aiming just for that hat-trick as well. Yesterday was difficult, couldn't get the bike stopped, couldn't get it turned. He's been able to find the solutions for it overnight.
Second row of the grid then will be Jonathan Ray, Sam Lowe's and Andrea Locatelli. And this is the best opportunity Ray has had to get back on the rostrum. His lone podium with Yamaha, of course, here at the UK round last year. There have been 40 World SBK races since then. 7th in the Superpole race at the Emilia-Romagna round last time out. Ray's best of 2025, now looking to add to his circuit record of 19 podiums at Donington Park.
This is the test for Ray, because there's been lots of times this season when his race pace has been relatively competitive to the other Yamaha riders, but he's been coming from too far back. Now's his chance to be able to prove what he can do at the front of the field.
Sam Lowe's will be starting from 5th position at the moment. He's sat next to 3rd position Alex Lowe's, an opportunity for them to share some information. Sam, from his first podium in Assen, has managed 10 top 7 finishes in 11 races, and he'll be looking to get back onto the rostrum this weekend, already celebrating at his home round the announcement of a new 2-year contract that'll take him to 2027 with Mark VDS.
Yeah, it's been a really good year for Sam, and even with a little bit of a disappointing qualifying effort from him compared to what the expectation is, still the middle of the second row shows the progress they've made.
Yeah, just made a small error late on his fastest lap that cost him, but still row 2. Completing that second row, Andrea Locatelli bounced back from 2 barren weekends in Cremona and Most that yielded only 19 points with a return to the podium. It was a 3rd in the Superpole race at the Emilia-Romagna round, his 4th rostrum finish of the campaign. 3 top 5 finishes in Misano, never a podium finisher in 12 races though here at Donington Park. That's your top 6. First opportunity to head down to the grid with Anthony Nelson.
Thanks, Alex. I'm here on the second row of the grid with Jonathan Ray. Johnny, it was a fantastic lap in qualifying earlier today, the highest up we've seen you this season. How did it feel yesterday when you were trying the bike in the hot conditions that your pace was?
Yeah, it was not so bad. I didn't manage to register a really good lap yesterday, but I was able to find a good wheel in qualifying and make a good lap time.
What's the target then?
Just get away at the front and just see if I can learn something in them early laps.
Best of luck.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Yes, being modest about expectations, but the longer you stick with the riders in podium contention, the better your chances are of breaking away from the group, because how often do we end up with a dogfight behind?
Yeah, all you want to see from Johnny is that he makes a quick start and he's in position to be able to attack from those early laps. The problem in Superbike racing right now is if you have to come from the 4th, 5th, 6th row of the grid, you can't make quick enough progress. Ray has an opportunity now. He needs to make the most of it.
P7 on the grid, Ryan Vickers. 8 points last time out for him in Misano. His best score of the season so far. Certainly has the chance now to do even better here. 8th in FP1 and FP2, 5th in FP3. His place on the 3rd row of the grid, then no fluke. And of course, he does know Donington Park well. Took one of his 9 British Championship race wins here in 2023.
Yeah, and for Vickers, he's been fast all the way through this weekend. Last time out in Misano in race 2, his 11th place finish. It went a little bit under the radar, but he was very consistent, did a good job. The team were delighted with it. And for Vickers, this is his chance now that he needs to show what he can do on the World Championship level. It might be a home round, but you still have to make the most of it.
Yes, and Vickers ahead of several big-name Ducatis, as is Jari Montella, ahead of the vastly experienced Petrucci, Bautista, Iannone and Redding. So strong Super Pole effort from the both of them. Montella proving why he's been retained by Barney Ducati for 2026. 5 8th places at 4 different venues. His best results so far. Looking to bounce back here from 2 retirements on Sunday in Misano.
He will have a long lap penalty to take in this race as well. So 3rd row of the grid, it's going to be a tough one with that penalty.
Yes, that's for irresponsible riding in his instance in race 2, obviously with Dominic Egger in the early stages. Completing your row 3 is Danilo Petrucci. Posted his first World SBK podium in race 2 of the 2023 UK round, one that he ended with 3 top 5 finishes. Didn't make the top 5 at all at Donington last year. 6th in race 2, his best of the weekend. But he's only been out of the top 6 3 times in 18 races this season, and another step forward in 2025 for Petrucci.
Yep, Danilo's had a really strong season so far, and certainly 3rd in the standings shows his consistency, and he'll be trying to make sure he comes away with another top 5 finish in this one and a good weekend.
Alvaro Bautista, 9 podiums in the first 4 rounds this season. He's only had 1 rostrum finish over the last 2. That was a 3rd place in race 2 of the Emilia-Romagna round, so a little off form. And because of 3 non-scores in Phillip Island, Portimao and Assen, he hasn't actually capitalised on the phase when he was clearly 3rd best behind Bulliger and Razgatlioglu. Now Bautista sits 4th in the standings after finishing 3rd overall last year.
Yeah, a lot of talk about him this weekend, given his posts on Instagram about the weight penalties and the impact it's having on him. He started to chirp up about that now again, having been quiet on it for the last 6 months. So for Bautista, he needs to make sure he's able to put that out of his mind and just come away with a result.
11th on the grid, Dominic Egerter, his best Super Pole since Assen, which was also when he last managed a top 10 finish. 8th and 9th in the long races in Portimao, 7th and 10th at the Dutch round. He's only scored 11 points since then. Lost the whole weekend, obviously, last time out in Misano after sustaining a neck wound in a race 1 crash. He makes his return here.
Less than a 10th of a second slower than Locatelli, but he finds himself 5 places behind Locke. And it just shows how close and competitive it is in that mid-pack.
4th row of the grid completed by Garrett Gerloff, podium finisher here on the Yamaha in 2021. Another here on the Kawasaki will likely be beyond his reach, but he is starting to look more of a regular top 10 contender. 10th in race 2 of the Czech round, 8th on Sunday afternoon in Misano. His best result since boarding new machinery this season.
Yeah, and for Garrett, it's been a really good weekend. We saw him running up inside the top 10 all the way through the practice sessions, qualifying on the 4th row of the grid. If he can come away with the top 10 finish and score some good points in this race, that'll be a really good outing.
On to the 5th row of the grid then, with Ike Lecuona, Andre Iannone and Michael van der Mark. Lecuona now ahead of teammate Xavi Vierke for 8th overall in the championship, despite Lecuona missing the opening round. Hasn't been out of the top 10 in the last 7 races. Extending that run to Donington Park, where he hasn't made the top 10 in either of his last 2 visits, is going to be a challenge. The Honda does tend to struggle here.
Yeah, and that's where Lecuona's lap time in the Super Pole session was really impressive. And he's on the 5th row of the grid. His teammate is back there on the 7th row of the grid, and as is Tommy Bridewell as well.
Andre Iannone in P14 never looked competitive here at Donington Park last year either. His only points at the 2024 UK round for an 11th place finish in race 1. But he'll be desperately keen to make more of an impression this weekend after 2 scoreless rounds. A practice crash wiping out his weekend in Most, and in Misano everything that could go wrong did go wrong, so he's looking to bounce back here. Completing that row number 5, Michael van der Mark, regular top 10 runner on the BMW in Portimao, Assen and Cremona, has managed just 8 points at the last 2 rounds, so he'll be in recovery mode here, back at the venue where he secured his first World SBK wins with Yamaha at the 2018 UK round. That's your front 5 rows of the grid. Back down to Anthony.
Thanks, Alex. I'm here with Pere Ribacucci for Alex Lowe. Pere, a very quick word before the start of the race. Alex did a very long run in free practice yesterday. How did he feel then, and how confident are you for this race?
Alex been strong all weekend. Yeah, it's true. Yesterday we've been a really long run, but the track is different, and also the bike is different. We changed a little bit the balance for today because trying to improve the weakest points. And today was really performing well during all day in the morning and also Super Bowl. But okay, now it's coming. The race is a little bit different. Let's see if we can collect a good information and go forward.
Oh, best of luck. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Pere just discussing Alex Lowe's strong performance this weekend so far. Fastest in FP1, fastest in FP3. Front row of the grid now for race 1 this afternoon. And at very least, a chance of a podium for Alex Lowe. And the longer he can stick with Toprak Razgatlioglu and Nicolo Bulliger, the better the chance of him holding off the rest of the group that obviously are going to be trying to take places off him in the early stages. But the Bimota, we've seen progress. Lowe's podium in the Super Pole race last time out. Bassani on the front row of the grid in Misano, and now Alex Lowe's qualifying on the front row here in Donington Park. So you feel that project is starting to build some momentum, which is great news for the riders who've committed to it. And obviously Alex Lowe and Axel Bassani, the main men as far as Bimota are concerned. Just run you through the remainder of the grid. Remy Gardner, Scott Redding and Axel Bassani on row number 6. Xavi Vierke, Tommy Bridewell, the one-off event rider. Michael Ruben-Rinaldi completing row 7. Bahattin Sofoglu and then Tito Rabat and Ivo Lopez on their first weekends on the Honda this season, completing your 24 rider field over 23 laps here. Toprak Razgatlioglu is the